wanted to talk a little bit about whether we should be practicing with timer, meaning not a metronome, but a device that just keeps the time, meaning, hey, have you practiced an hour? Did you do 45 minutes? And I think the exception is not to use a clock. I could be wrong about that, but it seems like everyone that I kind of grew up with was definitely watching the clock to sort of gauge, oh, I've done this amount of practicing. And I'm not sure if that's really beneficial. It's much better to probably listen to your internal clock, ideally. And if you're tired, to just stop. If you have a lot of energy, just kind of blow through a normal session. Say, I've always heard like 50 minutes is a good chunk for practicing and then taking a little rest and then doing that twice, 3 times, 4 times a lady. You could probably do that all day. The most I've ever practiced was, I wasn't that young. I was actually it wasn't that long ago. I practiced, I think, 9 hours or something like that. Maybe it was more like 10 hours. I was under a lot of pressure to learn a piece, and I just had a lot of energy, and it was, I was seeing stars by the end of it. I wasn't keeping track of how much, I wasn't sort of saying, I will practice 10 hours because that's what I need to do. I just really felt like I needed to do 10 hours of practicing. For violin playing, I think we might come in second to pianists. I think pianists, because they're sitting down, I feel like they could do twice as much as practicing as violin is, as a general rule. I don't know if they need to. I think the violin is an extremely hard instrument, but I'm not a keyboard player. It could be a lot harder. Probably someone out there that would attest to what instrument it is harder. Maybe Corey Sarabchak. I remember he was very good at both instruments. Lots of players are quite good at lots of instruments, actually. But whether to keep a timepiece in your face while you practice is something I would probably suggest. If you're doing that, or you have been doing that for as long as you remember, why don't you just try taking like 6 months or something like that and not using a timepiece and seeing what happens. And on the contrary, if you're someone that is just sort of like even if you're a serious musician, but you've never used a timepiece or you haven't in a long time, why don't you put a timepiece in front of your face and monitor how much time you practice. I think generally those sort of things are good. It's just sort of get out of your comfort zone. Not to say that like your comfort zone is something that is gonna, like, you're giving yourself stress and you need to stay in your comfort zone. It's just do something that's a little atypical for you in order to sort of learn something about yourself and your playing. And who knows, like maybe something will pop up with sort of turning things on its head a little bit. So I didn't really have too much to say about that, but rather, do you use a timepiece to monitor your practicing? If you do, try putting it away for a bit. And if you don't, get a watch, turn it on when you're about to play your first note, and give yourself like a goal of maybe 50 minutes or an hour, and then see where you are, see where your energy is. Maybe you think you've been practicing hours and hours, and maybe you've only been practicing like an hour and a bit. So yeah, not too much to say about that, but something I've been sort of playing with is basically when you've been playing or doing any activity for a long time, you sort of adopt cargo cult habits that you don't even know where they came from. And cargo cult is, I believe it's a term from the tech world actually, where it's you do things because it's in the culture and there's no rhyme or reason to actually do it. No one's actually objectively said from first principles, we do this because this leads to that, which leads to this. It's more of a you enter a situation and there's a culture of you do things because that's why we do things. This shouldn't be a new concept to anyone. I mean, when you do anything and pick up a new sport or pick up a new hobby, there's these there's lore on what should be done, what shouldn't be done, and if you don't ask too many questions, you'll never get to the bottom of it. So I'm constantly tinkering with not self-improvement exactly, but just sort of reflecting on, hey, what am I doing, and why do I do that? And it's a nice thing to do once in a while, to sort of kind of break, like if you have a sandcastle, you just sort of kick down the sandcastle and you're like, oh, let's start again. And that way you're kind of always objectively looking at things. And I wish I did that more. It's just hard because it is a comfort something. There's, even if something that you do is like picking up a clock and turning it on, and like I'm going to practice an hour now. Seems like that's sort of a harmless activity, especially if you are like, I'm going to practice 3 hours during the week, do practice every day 3 hours or something. Then yeah, it makes sense to have a timepiece. But even that is just, do you really need a timepiece? Why do you do that? It might seem pretty obvious that you do that because you need to keep the time, but yeah, it's just something that, do you really need to practice 3 hours? Or, where does that number 3 hours come from? Is it sort of a cargo cult of from the conservatory days where that's about how much time? I don't know, it's not true, but but as much time as you have allotted in a day if you're not doing classes or something like that. Like, where does this all come from? So yeah, just constantly be questioning things, and those are big sort of sweeping things. With violin playing, of course, we're dealing with very small decisions. So take that attitude again about, why am I doing that? Where did I pick that up? How long have I been doing that for? Who told me that? Where did that come about? And if you ask those questions, sometimes you'll make some major breakthroughs in your presentation, in sort of your learning process, all kinds of things. Sometimes, if you're doing something that doesn't make a lot of sense for you, but makes sense for someone else, that could be leading you down a pretty dangerous path. Danger meaning, maybe it's something that's going to give you pain. I think there's a lot of theory on how to hold the instrument and how to stand it. And, if you are practicing 4 hours a day and you've been told to do something kind of unnatural, yeah, those things sort of can injure a player. So you do want to be constantly questioning things in equal measure to being open-minded, being an open-minded person when there is information coming your way as well. So it's a balance. It's a balancing act. It's like you've got to be asking the right questions, but also you got to be open to your elders or your betters to guide you, and you don't want to be completely contrarian, right? You don't want to be telling your teachers that they're wrong, and up bow is down bow, down bow is up bow, which is sort of my default mode actually. Is I'm a little bit of a contrarian, but it's really good to take things in, interpret them, and then if you do have things that are just like a rut, things that are just like just sort of, you have to slap yourself, like, why do I do this? It's good to once in a while just sort of step back and understand why you do things, and you can apply that to something as simple as having a clock in front of your face when you practice to vibrating every note.